But I think now would be a good time to transition.
We have the star of the film.
Stars.
Is Valerie here? I'm not seeing her on my screen.
We were just talking.
Valerie, where's the co-star?
I don't see her on my screen.
You're muted, Valerie. Click the big arrow.
I don't see her on my screen either. I'm gonna grab
Valerie, we need you.
You know, when you see good acting, you
There she is. I do see her now, but I don't hear her though.
I don't see her. Like I have to go.
Hello.
Hey, there she is. What's up, buddy?
There you go.
I only act. I don't do this technology stuff.
Hey, there's the stars of the film.
We have Pepper with us today.
Well, Valerie's the star. I'm the co-star.
On my popcorn.
No.
On mine.
Hey, I just fed off of you. You're great.
How are you guys doing?
With this quarantine, man, I'm trying to stay sane, man, for sure.
That's good.
Likewise.
Yeah. You guys miss acting?
Yes, man. I'm glad that this thing is slowing down, so you get out there.
True.
Yeah.
True. Well, how's it been since have you guys seen the film as of late? Like, when's the last time you've seen the movie?
Yes, man, especially since it's this time of the year, so I'm kind of bummed out that we're not going to go back to back.
I know. Well, I mean, we've been talking a lot. We've been having a very heartfelt conversation about the making of the movie and why it came out as good as it did, because I was telling them that if I was somebody who wasn't a part of the production and they showed me this movie, I'd been like, oh, you guys totally did this within a month and had a budget. And it's like, no. But I also think that another strong pillar for the movie being as good as it was because you guys were the leads and you guys worked very well off each other. So my first question for you guys is, in other projects, typically you get time to read the script and even months to prepare for the role. But you both really sold the role and the dedication is shown. What was the process like in terms of getting cast for this 48-hour film? Did you guys already know ahead of time? I think we need to get the answer to that, but how was it like for you guys in your POV?
You want to take this, Valerie, or?
Go ahead.
I have some beef with Carlos.
Do you know?
I remember I told him to send me the script as soon as you guys were done.
Right.
Just so I could flirt with it, so on my way over there.
We finished at 2 a.m. I think I said.
No, I get it. I get it, but I remember I was just like, dude, you should have sent me
my popcorn. This is why I have my popcorn.
So it was kind of nerve-wracking, but nah, man. Once I read the script, it was like, all right, okay, let's try to make some magic.
You found out the day of, right? Who we were and stuff.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah, I think the thing.
That's right.
Yeah, I think the thing about it is, in terms of casting, we had casted more people to be in the film, and then a couple of people dropped out at the last minute. They just didn't show up, which was kind of a bummer, man. But even regardless, I had never worked with Valerie before. Erik Castro, I mean, come on, we've said it in every episode of this podcast. I love working with him, and he's the De Niro to my Scorsese. I always say that. The meatloaf. Any film I do, I hope I'm always able to have a role for Castro, because I just love working with him, and we have that shorthand. And with Valerie, I had never worked with her before. Let me tell you a quick story about how Valerie came about. A buddy of mine from TriCast Pictures, Luis, he was in a class with Valerie once upon a time, an acting class. I think it was acting for the stage, if I'm not mistaken, Valerie. I could be wrong here, but. Acting for the camera, okay. So Luis kindly was I at some point, I think it was for last year's 48 actually, or maybe it was for a music video. I don't remember what we were casting. I reached out to Luis and I was like, hey man, I'm I'm kind of burnt out on the actresses I've worked with. I want to work with some new people. Do you know anybody? And he sent me like a whole list of some of his classmates that he had worked with. One of them actually came out on this film as well, which was Paola, which is how I met Paola. And he sent Valerie, and I think Valerie and I had talked once upon a time, just kind of on a general basis, and it didn't really amount to anything. Like there wasn't a role that I kind of wanted her for. And when it came to setting up the meeting for the original meeting for this 48, I told Austin, I was like, hey man, you remember that girl Valerie? We have her reel or her audition we have in our email, and her headshot. I like her for this. I think she could be something on this. And I reached out, told her, come to the meeting. I don't know what role you're going to be yet. We don't know what's going to happen yet, but she came, and she came all the way to Austin's house for that meeting. And we met her there. And with the moment I met her, her sensibilities and her, if you know Valerie, by the way, and you get to know her, and when you initially meet her, she's very sweet and kind and very professional. And then you get to know her, and she's
Diva.
like,
Pain.
she's like, this big personality, and she's very funny, and she's very, she's very over the top in a lot of cases, in a good way. It's just her personality. And at that moment when I saw the sweet sensibility of her personality, I was like, you know what, I think she could be something for this, whatever it ends up being.
Perfect.
And when it came to the day where we sent out the script, it was 2 a.m. and Juan got this on camera. It's in the doc. I had worked with other actresses before. I had worked with some of the other actresses we had casted before in this film. Like Ashley did a fantastic job playing like one of the best friends. She was in one of a couple of Michael's films beforehand, and that's where I met her, and I had worked with her before, and obviously like Sherry and some of the other actresses,
James, for
Paola, James was in there. I had worked with all of them before. Valerie, I had never worked with. I just want to make that very clear. I never worked with. And at 2 a.m., when we were making decisions about who was going to play the lead, I told everybody, Santos is the lead. Santos is going to be the lead.
She made an impression.
She has to be the lead in this. And Austin looked at me and he kind of like, are you sure, man? Like he didn't say that, but he looked at me like, you've never worked with her. Like, can you trust us for a 48? Can you trust us for a 48-hour challenge? And I was like, no. She's going to be the lead. She has to be the lead. And I don't know what your impression was of that, Valerie, like meeting the team and coming on. I don't know.
She stole a show.
It was, I remember Luis messaging me and being like, hey, hope you don't mind. I sent your information along with other people's, some friends from Tower. And I was like, oh yeah, like I've been wanting to work with them. And I think like you mentioned that we had an interaction. I think I sent like my info one time and I was I was like, you ever need me? Like ever? And then a year later or something like that. I remember meeting you guys, and I was like, it was scary because I was like, oh no,
they're scary people. They all are.
Yeah, especially
from the beards to the height. It's terrifying.
Is it safe to say, Valerie,
he's been in prison?
Based off what you're saying, Valerie, is it safe to say that you had heard about something we had done, beforehand?
Oh, I don't think I've ever before that. I'd never heard of. This was my first ever short film, like outside of a school project or two. So it was like all new to me. And I was like, oh my God, like there's a bunch of people and we're actually all going to work on this together, which is really exciting. And I was really surprised when you guys gave me like one of the lead roles. Cause I was like, oh shoot, like this was only in my dream. Cause I like, it. And I was like, I'm just going to send him like my short films. Like, and I'd be like, this is what I've done for school. Like, I promise I'll do a good job. So I'm really, really grateful. Like this definitely like opened a lot of doors for me, for sure.
Well, you were great. You were awesome.
We'll talk about that a little later because I know Valerie went on to do this really cool project in Dallas after that, and we could talk about that a little later. But I don't know. I think we just both made an impression on each other, and these two's chemistry. What I love about Valerie Castro, the thing about Castro is he'll go wherever you want to go. He'll go wherever the director wants to go. But he needs somebody who will do the same. And in previous experiences, we didn't have that for Castro, unfortunately. I know we had that with Paola for the last 48. She kind of went where Castro wanted to go in certain instances, but very limited. We shot a feature, and we've shot a lot of stuff with Castro. And there was instances where we had actors or actresses that wouldn't go where Castro wanted to go, and Valerie didn't shy away from that for 1 second. Like she went where Castro wanted to go. She went where I wanted to go. And it was just a beautiful chemistry between these two. Definitely.
Yeah. I remember when we were, what's up?
Go over it.
Oh no. I remember that we started, kind of like vibing, feeding off each other when we're in the van. I don't know if you remember when we're in the van, when we had the cliff scene.
Really that late into the
production? Yeah, dude, because within an hour we were already shooting in the first location. I think it was Roadhouse.
Yeah, it was Rock House.
So she was trying to memorize her lines. I was trying to memorize my lines. So once we went to the cliff, that's when we really kind of like gelled. Like, hey, we got to do the scene. I'm gonna try to make it as sad as possible. And she was like, okay, yeah, go for it. I was like,
I think like the best thing about like finding chemistry and being able to like portray that on a screen is like definitely getting to know the person as them and then later on as the character. And I think with Erik, like it was really easy for me to like, he was open to play. So that's where that like spark. We were just hanging out, having fun.
Perfectly said.
I was gonna say, did you guys have a clear grasp of like who these characters were? Because we were talking a lot about how
No.
Carlos beautifully wrote this like overarching story where De La O had mentioned how it starts, the conversation, how we can all relate to that, and then how it ends very somber, and you kind of see the ending, closing chapter for the relationship. When you guys got the script, like, did you guys get a clear grasp of who these characters were?
I honestly didn't until I started talking to Valerie in the van.
Mm-hmm.
I agree. It was really difficult.
Yeah, because it was just like, within the hour, memorize the lines, go to the location. That's why I told Carlos to send it to me when they were finished. But yeah, I mean.
So it helped that you guys think that, and this is kind of a weird question to ask the actors, but did you guys feel that in terms of having a co-star, did you guys feel proud that you were acting alongside, this person who got casted? Did you feel they were right for the role? And obviously the answer is yes, but,
Well, I felt kind of nervous since Valerie has a background in this. What'd you say, Valerie?
No, and I was going to say, what was it like to do the stand-up bits? Like, was there any improv involved in that? Like, how much, like, because I want to say there was some improv in this film coming from you guys. I'm not sure.
Yeah, there was a point where I think I was struggling with lines the entire film. Y'all were so patient.
What?
I was like, Carlos, I'm so sorry. Like, I could not memorize these in an hour. And then, And then we ended up, I think everybody did a little bit of improv. Like every cast member.
Yeah,
Carlos
yeah,
was like,
for sure.
Just go up there and just do some.
Just riff, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think what I ended up doing was for Erik and Valerie's characters, though they did follow what was written, but I did encourage them to improv and take it further than what I wrote on the page. So just so we have that extra moment in post to either let it ride or cut. And with the other actors, we had overcasted to a certain degree. We had Sherry and Elizabeth and James as playing and Paola as playing the other comics. And literally outside the Rock House was where we developed their characters. Mm-hmm. We're outside of Rock House. I was able to talk to Sherry. And I was able to talk to Elizabeth and James and Paola. And I was like, okay, like Elizabeth was the first one to come to me. And she had a cowboy hat on. And she was like, hey, how about if my character's like this kind of like country gal and that's her bit. I was like, I love it. Beautiful. Start working on that and let's see how that works. Moved on to Sherry. And Sherry has a very very open and kind of crazy personality. So I was like, hey, how about if you're kind of more of the manhandler, you know what I'm saying? More of the raunchy kind of older chick that hits on these dudes, right? And she was like, love it. I could do it easy. Went on to Paola, and Paola is primarily a Spanish speaker. So I was like, you speak Spanish very beautifully. Let's do that. Let's tackle that. And let's have this moment of confusion where everybody's like, she can do that. And she did that beautifully, man. And Paola pulled that off. And James was we've worked with James a ton, and James will do anything you want, man. Like, he'll go anywhere you want to go. And I wanted him to be the MC and the host upon Michael's recommendation. But at the same time, I was like, well, let's get him as a comic. Let's get him trying to be funny and animated. And this was all outside the Rock House, maybe half an hour before we shot. You know what I'm saying? With the other comic.
That's beautiful, man.
With Erik and Valerie, I remember them being inside the Rock House on almost like corners, which is how I wanted the scene to be portrayed. They were in corners of the boxing room. One was over here learning his line over here, and the other one was over here learning her lines in the opposite side of the room. And I would go back between them and be like, all right, we're going to do this. We're going to shoot this way, and it's going to be this way. And I don't know what kind of direction I gave. I don't know, but this was mostly them, man. I think
it was perfect, the direction you gave me. You said, try to be funny. And my character sucks at being funny at the beginning, so
right.
It worked beautifully.
I want to say we've talked about your guys' sensibilities, and one thing that since we've been doing TowerCast episodes for I don't even know how long now, but you Carlos and Castro, you guys are very you guys talk a lot about comedy bits and a lot about comedians that you guys very much enjoy. Well, you guys got the topic, chick flick, rom-com. Why did you feel like you automatically gravitated towards like comedy, like comedian stand-up? Like, what did that have anything to do with the fact that you just love comedy already?
Well, I think that was just a blessing in disguise, Juan, because it was kind of forced upon us. We had to use a character as a comedian. Mm-hmm. And I thought in the 48-hour challenge that we did before, the character that they gave us, I only used as a minor character. Josh kind of tailored the story around this whole other thing. And in this case, we got the character of a comedian. I'm like, well, let's just use that. That was just kind of my view at it. Like, let's just tailor the whole story around this comedian. And when they gave us two names, and one of them could be male, one of them could be female in my brain, I thought, well, let's just use both. Let's just use both names. It's a rom-com. Let's have a couple in it. We have to have a couple in it. So I think the sensibilities of loving comedy and loving the craft of comedy definitely helped me and definitely helped Castro. Because me and Castro, I think we may have just been riffing about, do it in the style of this guy, do it in the style of that guy. Yeah. And I think we talked about, like, do it in the style. I think I said something along these lines, Castro. Like, you
made me switch it up a couple times. Yeah.
I think I said it in the sense of, like, do Eddie Murphy if Eddie Murphy was Mexican.
Yeah,
and like stuff like that. Like, we kind of just like do Eddie Murphy raw if he was Mexican and kind of more tame. And
I remember Rick. That's when Ricky was giving me feedback. Like, no.
Yeah. And with that's the riffs between the comedic aspect between me and Castro.
Yeah.
Between Valerie's character, I didn't need to tell Valerie that, because I would let Valerie improv, and her stage sensibilities came to life. And maybe it helped that she was on a stage. Her stage sensibilities of being funny and being naturally, like, just open about what she's talking about, that just came to life. I don't know, Valerie, what do you think?
I don't know what I was doing, dude. Seriously. I really was just like, like, I've always wondered what it would be like to be a comedian. This is the time.
Yeah.
So.
I thought you were pretty good, so it put more pressure on me, since I was like, whoa, she seems kind of calm. Okay.
They both had to be natural. That's the thing about it. They both have to be natural, and it had to seem like both of them had been doing this for some time now. And Valerie had to seem more natural than Castro, especially in the beginning. And
because I'm not the one getting jobs, for sure.
Exactly. And I mean, these two together are a match made, man. Like, I want them to be the Ryan Gosling and Emma Stone of me. I want to do another picture with them, or maybe another couple of pictures with them would be fun.
For sure.
What did you guys feel as actors during this movie? What did you take away from this project that you both have never experienced on any other set before? And I know Valerie, like, she's been involved with a lot of, like, stage productions. So I hadn't, like, that. I don't think anybody knew that this was her first movie, but I mean, you completely sold it and ran with it. What did you guys both, like, take away? And Castro being, like, our we love you, man. We were just talking about how much we love you. Like, I honestly want to get, like, a picture of your face framed and just have it, like, that guys are acting. But yeah, what did you guys take away from this particular project that you've never experienced?
I want to hear from Valerie. What you take away?
Hi, put me on the spot. Well, I think it was all so new to me. Like, I've never worked with, like, so many people at once. I'd never, like, been in front of a camera that long. I've never had to learn a script in so little time. I've never had to develop a character that was going to seem believable in so little time.
The pressure of being in a competition.
The pressure of, like, you got to be good. You can't suck. And yeah, I think my favorite part was just, like, getting to know you all, even though it was super intimidating because, like, I suck at people. But, like, I was like, I like these people. And, like, yeah, it was just really, really cool, like, being a part of something so, what seemed to me, like, bigger than myself. And then especially, like, when it came to the award ceremony, I was like, wow, like, we all made that. Like, it wasn't one person.
True. To me, I learned just to have confidence in you guys. I'm going to be honest with you. I almost didn't go to the premiere.
Really?
That's how nervous, anxious. Just as an actor, with the co-star over here, you're the guy up on the screen. You got this whole crew behind you. And I was having a lot of anxiety that day. I was just
you were super anxious, guys.
Dude, I sat alone.
Yeah, I remember that.
You know what I mean? It's just... I'm that guy, man. I get anxious. Like, I don't want to disappoint anybody. I want to try my best.
So what, Castro, did you do that because you thought the film was going to suck? And if
no, not at all.
If it sucked, he could be sitting somewhere else and be like, I'm not with them.
He's wearing, like, sunglasses and just, like, had his disguise ready to go.
And a trench coat.
Yeah.
No, not at all. It was just more of I didn't want to disappoint anybody. So I didn't want to be there and nobody went, especially Austin in the first time with the tram. I remember he was just like, hunched over like, I hope we win. And it's just a lot of pressure. But I remember I was just like, I told myself, yo, man, these guys put the work in. Don't be disrespectful. These are family. So I was just like, man, if I go down, I'm going to go down with these guys. You know what I mean?
And we got a very special moment at the premiere too, which we'll talk about later. But I got to meet Castro's brother for the first time. And Castro's brother was in attendance, and I know he's a huge factor in your life in terms of kickstarting your career for acting and filmmaking, Castro. So
Sure.
I got to meet him and his girlfriend, his wife there at the
Lorraine.
premiere, and they were very happy to meet us finally because we've worked with this guy for over 20 pictures, and I remember them congratulating us and being very proud of Castro and being very proud of the production, and that was a special moment for me, for Castro. Like I felt that for Castro, and when we won, Castro was the one that, I don't know, he was like flabbergasted. He was like, he's just like all of us were in shock. But I remember Castro being like, somebody asked him, I overheard somebody asked him, how do you feel, man? Like, what do you think? He's like, I'm just happy for Carlos, man. At this point, I'm just happy for Carlos because he had seen our journey up to that point and how hard we've worked to bring out a quality
You guys were
picture.
up for 3 days almost, no? When did you guys start? Friday and then Sunday?
Friday at
Michael,
6.
Michael, everybody was there.
We turned in the film Sunday at 5:51 p.m. if I'm not mistaken.
Taking turns sleeping, dude. That's the dedication that it was so much pressure. I was like, man, I know these guys are up right now. It was just,
Step away. Have we talked about the post process yet?
No, we're
Please.
we're coming. We're having the editors come on in a little bit. We're going to get to that. That's what I want to get to that yet. But
I will say, I just remember when I wasn't able to attend because the challenge of the Familia Festival, because like I had to choose between either showing up to work or asking those 2 days off so I had to choose.
Previously.
Yeah, so you flipped a coin.
I flipped the coin, and I was like, all right, I guess I gotta make these mucking moves without
I gotta ask while we're on the topic of acting. Castro, I'm gonna ask both of you, I guess, in the sense of because I'm an insecure director. I don't know what I'm doing half of the time. So I want to know. Yeah, I know. So I want to know on behalf of the actors, because I like to think myself as an actor's director. I like to think of myself like I like working with the actors more than anybody else or anything else in the process. And
yeah, you're not on set just screaming and.
But I do want to ask Castro. I've worked with you in at least 15 pictures before this one. Was there anything different in how you and I are dynamic on this picture as opposed to other pictures? And Valerie, this was the first time I was directing, first and only time. We haven't worked on anything since. So was there anything that you have to comment about that, like that, in terms of directing and maybe compared to other directors or something like that,
I think just for the fact that it was a 2-day challenge, you had a lot of stuff in your plate. You, Austin, Michael, everybody had a lot of stuff in their plate. So, I wish we could have gone over the script, because honestly, till I saw it, I saw the full picture. You know what I'm saying? It was just, as an actor, you really don't.
That was the case with everybody in my crew, Castro. Don't worry. That was the case with
Michael,
everybody in my crew, which is fine with me. But anyways.
Pero that's what what you said. After 15 films, under our belt together, I learned to trust you, and I'm like, for sure, let's do it.
Yeah. I think, Castro, what I love about you, man, is that you'll make a dog shit picture with me if I asked you to. Like, it doesn't matter what it is. Like, you'll do it, and you love me, and I love you that way. And whatever it is,
just
even
swinging.
if it's bad, if we think it's bad, you'll hit it out of the park. So
just swinging, just swinging, man. You're gonna get some bad ones, some good ones. That's how you get better. There's gonna be criticisms, haters. Don't give a fuck.
Well, you're absolutely right. If there's one thing about Castro is that he'll trust me in anywhere we want to go. And in this picture,
can I ask something to Valerie?
Yeah,
Valerie, what'd you think of the ending? I thought that was so cool. Our feedback when I looked at you and.
So I had never seen La La Land.
Really?
Good for you.
Take her off.
Good for you.
Take her off. Take her.
Neither had I.
And so I didn't really know. And then I was like, oh, that's so depressing. But ending.
But did you like it? I was like, man, that was so spot on. Your reaction.
I think it was just two people have different, same careers, but they're going different places in life. And sometimes it just doesn't work out.
Right.
I believe it was just perfectly captured for sure.
It was really nice.
You guys sold it. You guys really sold it.
How do you feel about that though, Valerie? Like in terms of being directed by an asshole? And,
No, for sure. How did Carlos direct you?
I would say definitely like this was like the best experience I could have asked for, like especially for like my first experience on a short film. Like I was like really, really surprised. I mean, not that I like expected anything bad of you guys, but I think Carlos has this sense of like he mentioned, he is an actor's director. Like he knows how to communicate effectively to somebody that is, it's necessary for them to be in a vulnerable position. And like this whole situation is even more like difficult because we were on a time schedule and it was really like a time schedule. So it was like he did a really good job at like being calm and not like stressing anybody out on set. And so I really appreciated that. I just think like the way that you put yourself in the shoes of the actor and of the character rather than being like, you should do that. It's we, and let's collaborate rather than a director just telling you what to do.
Cool.
Hey.
I appreciate that. I think that's a big deal for anybody in cinema or storytelling as a whole. I've always wanted to direct theater, so I definitely want to see the dynamics for that too at some point in my life. But I think it's a big deal to. Oh no, we lost Juan. But I think it's a big deal to be able to work like that. So I appreciate that. I think you two give me the liberty. And by the way, I will say it now, Valerie, after this 48, got so excited about 48 that she went to go do another 48 in another city. In Dallas.
Hey.
It's crazy.
And she played like this mob boss, this mob person thing.
Yeah.
Valerie, sweet Valerie over here, my boss.
Yeah, I don't know if you want to talk about that, Valerie.
Get out of here.
Yeah, well, I remember like, because I was in Dallas for the summer and I was like, I want to like try to find some work over here. And yeah, I found like 2 commercials and yada, yada, yada. But I ended up seeing a post.
Yada, yada.
I ended up seeing a post for a 48-hour film and I was like, oh my God, like this is perfect because it's on my resume and it'll be like, yeah, I'm an award winner. So I remember meeting these great people. They were also really, really good. We ended up winning. It was the same process, just like obviously different people and blah, blah, blah. But we ended up winning best editing and something else that I forgot. But we didn't win the whole thing.
I know a bunch of people in Dallas. Who was it, if you remember their names?
Ryan and Elizabeth Shorman. There was just a bunch of people under this company called Wooden Camera, and they.
Oh yeah, no, Wooden Camera's awesome.
Yeah, they're fabulous. They had their own warehouse, and it was just a great experience. Yeah. And it was, I think, having what's funny under my belt was really. It was at an advantage because they would ask me like, when you did it in El Paso, like how did you guys? And so I was able to like help them figure out like time schedules and what the best thing would be for them.
By the way, I love that you say you didn't watch La La Land beforehand. I hope you've watched it since, but no, you haven't. Jeez.
I watched like a few minutes.
No. Anyway,
I was busy.
Cut her off.
Music was on for everybody. That's okay. No, but in terms of La La Land, I was just going to say, when we wrapped the film, when we turned it in, everybody who wanted to, I remember we went to go eat. And after we ate, I said, hey, man, if you guys want to have some ice cream and go watch a film at my house, let's do it. And I convinced everybody to let me put La La Land on for them. And Michael had never seen it before. And that night he watched it for the first time. So I made him watch it. I made Juan was there, Austin and Eric. I made Eric rewatch it, which he'd never see it again. And then my fiance Sandra. So I just thought that was a cool little kind of wraparound that we saw La La Land after we turned in the film.
That really cool ice cream was so good.
Man, I'm thinking about it.
One thing I did, fun fact, before we continue, Valerie, I think one of the things that I love about this podcast is that we've been able to meet so many faces that, really hustle and elevate their muscles in terms of acting. And we've had Jerry Walker, we've had, Metamotos, and then we've had Valerie now. And fun fact, during the Oscars, when we were watching the Oscars, a commercial came up. And lo and behold, it was Jerry. I think Jerry Walker was in it too. But then Valerie showed up as well. So that was kind of a cool little thing. I don't remember.
And Valerie too.
I think it was a bank commercial, like a GCU commercial.
And she goes like this.
TCU commercial or something.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. But
while we were watching the Oscars,
Hey, Daniel.
Hey,
what's up?
The movie, when it premiered and everything, of course, we took the audience award in first place as well. Me personally, I just remember when the check cleared, I just remember thinking like, it's crazy to think we won, you know, because we haven't changed. We really haven't changed. These are all real, by the way. These are all real. This is the Irishman ring. No, but what was your guys' like reaction to the film? I think this is for everybody. What was your guys' reaction to the film winning? And then also like, how did you guys feel like going to sleep that night as filmmakers, as actors? Like, how did you guys feel going to sleep that night?
I think you should ask Austin that first.
I'm down.
Austin. Damn it, Austin.
No, I mean, this isn't my time right now. I think, you know, we should be asking Valerie and Erik.
Just start it off, though. Just start it off.
Yeah, we have another cast member here, too. We got Jesse.
Oh, yeah.
I see Jesse.
Hi.
Who did just brilliantly, by the way.
Jesse.
In his role, brilliantly.
Hi, how are you?
Pretty good, man.
Look, representing.
That's my
Tower
dog.
Productions in the house.
I want to.
We'll get your shirt, Valerie.
Yeah, for sure. I had one, but I ripped it off. So, you know.
Nice.
Ooh. How are you guys?
Pretty
good, man.
So we're actually talking about acting right now and acting to the film. I know you're an editor, and we're going to talk to Daniel and Jesse and Austin, Michael, everybody that edited the film. But primarily right now we're talking about acting and kind of wrapping this conversation about acting. What was your experience on, what's funny in terms of the acting, Jesse?
Well, these challenges are a challenge. You get the script pretty much that same day. And the good thing is that being the kind of a movie where you get a bunch of characters, you don't have these long monologues, at least, in my case. So that was kind of like easy for me. But man, the protagonists, they talk a lot, so it must be pretty tough.
No, yeah. I think what's cool about Jesse is we've had him on the TowerCast before, talking about his film Precognition, and Jesse's a mastermind, man. Jesse does directing. He's currently writing.
And he's an actor.
He's an actor. He does graphics, the visual effects. He's just a genius. I can't talk about it yet, but he completed this amazing graphic for me for this special project we're working on, and I'm so happy and excited because it came out so great. And he's just a genius. And when it came to, I don't know if you want to talk about the call I made to you, Jesse, the night before about writing your character, and if you felt comfortable kind of going into that character, if I had your permission to write that character how he was, that type of thing.
Dude, that just upped the fucking funny on this.
Yeah, I told Carlos that I would do anything on the project. If I have to be an extra, like I don't have to be a protagonist, pretty much. So whatever we need. And he called me the night before. He was like, "You know what? There's this character that you might be able to do it. He's gay."
What was your first reaction?
I'm like, "Sure, why not?" I'm like, yeah, but he is very flamboyant. Well, on that part, I don't think I made it justice. Like I kind of
certainly did, dude.
We won an award because of that.
It's the best character. Yeah, it's the best character in terms of like character actors. Like you as a character actor for this particular film, you were the crowd favorite, dude. You were the crowd favorite for anybody who's ever talked to me about this film. This film is Jesse, man. Jesse's so funny, and this character's so funny. They crack up.
We won because of the line at the end.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you definitely did it justice.
Yeah, I guess it's one of those times where when you see the film and you're like, I should have done this.
Yeah, we all get that.
Yeah. But
I was just nervous because Jesse's a very, very terrific actor, man. He's done much bigger productions than these, and he was obviously the lead in Michael's film Night Shift, and he's done a ton of other stuff.
He killed me for sure.
And Jesse, well within his right as a lead. You know what I'm saying? Well within his right. But it's beautiful when you get leads and you put them in these minor roles and they kill in these minor roles. Mm-hmm. And I was just a little nervous, like, hey, man, I'm going to write this character and I'm writing him for you. Do I have your permission to write him as free as I can, or will you have an issue with that? And he didn't bat an eye. He was like, dude, write it. I got you. I'll do it. And I think we shouldn't undermine, because one of the things it's a good time to talk about it. It was the secondary characters were sort of like the glue for each individual main. For sure.
So,
for sure.
For example, you have Castro's character who, he has his little like moral, just moral compasses and telling him how he should feel, telling him if they agree or not. But Jesse's character in particular, I think I even want to say I almost remember you saying like, can I say this or can I add a line? Because you almost used like a Mexican phrase, but you translated it. You kind of talked about like, like what you eat comes out the other end. Like you kind of were the Pepper's moral compass in this film. And I think that really like
voice of reason for sure.
The voice of reason. Exactly. I think that's what I liked about your character. Yeah. You're a part of this comedic movie. So you have some funny moments, but I think your character and all the minor characters all,
well, it's because I asked the guys when I was writing the story. I asked everybody. I was like, "Look, man, this is a chick flick. Jesse's characters what made this story the chick flick, because if it was a rom-com, we may have not had his character, right? The rom-com aspects of it, but the character of the gay best friend is a total cliche in chick flicks.
Yep.
Okay, so that was kind of part of the reason that authenticated us as a chick flick. Mm. And I told everybody, like, should we have the cliche? Should we have the cliche? I'm going to write it, and let's see how it goes. And we had the cliche, but he ended up being a bigger presence. And he's the moral compass, like Juan says, but he's also he steals the show. It's kind of like, if you guys have ever seen Some Like It Hot, a Billy Wilder's film with Marilyn Monroe and Jack Lemmon. If you've seen that picture, the guy that plays the millionaire, the guy who owns the boat, he steals the show. He's so funny. He steals the show. And that's what we talked about, Some Like It Hot for this particular moment. And I told these guys that end line that Jesse delivers, it's from Some Like It Hot, like the presence of like, nobody's perfect. That final line in Some Like It Hot, that's the inspiration that I drew for Jesse's line. And you're right, these minor characters steal the show. Jesse stole the show. That's all I can say.
And stole some of my laughs for sure.
But how was it, Jesse? I mean, you and I on set were pretty. I had never directed you before either. And you were right. Juan was kind of like there when you would ask, like, "Hey, can I do this? Can I improv? Can I?" And I if I said no, I would have been an idiot, because you did fantastically. So I don't know if you had any.
Well, I guess. Well, first of all, thank you for all those wonderful comments that you're guys saying. I think when you have the freedom to do this, you have to base it on the other characters as well. The other actors also, if they are comfortable, if they're professional as they are, I mean, on that moment, I guess you can take some liberties. Valerie and Erik. Well, I had the scene with Valerie, and she was fantastic. I mean, she was on point, and I was like, oh shoot! So I have to be up there also. So I guess that's when you can do stuff like that. I guess.
I remember, we'll talk about it a lot in the cutting when we get to the editing segment, but I remember for Valerie's character, for Valerie, Jesse, and Ashley, particularly Jesse, Ashley, Alfredo, and Alexis, those two characters, the best friends of each respective lead, they had a subplot. I wrote a subplot for them in the script. For the 8-minute cut, we had to cut out most of that subplot. And that's why the 13-minute cut, the director's cut, it has a better, juicier story, because we're able to see the subplot of Alexis hitting on Ashley's character, on Jesse's character hitting on Alfredo's character. And there's this subplot that's why the punchline at the end is so rewarding. But we had to cut.
People thought I was concerned for no reason.
So we had to cut that subplot out, and then for the director's cut, it just completed the film, made it feel better. So you're right, Juan. These minor characters for me are just as important. Scorsese likes to say, like, when he sees a film and he sees the bank tellers and he sees the bit part characters, he's like, if I don't have these bit part characters, the film doesn't feel complete for me. And in this case, especially, these supporting characters are everything, man. They authenticate the film. So thank you guys, because you guys are amazing, man.
Let's give these guys a round of applause real quick. Let's do a little Zoom call, a round of applause for the actors and all the producers.
Love it.
An extra one for Jesse and Valerie for sure.
Thank you guys. Thank you. You guys.
If I can add something in to kind of follow up what Carlos just said, that's part of the reason why he mentioned breaking the rules in the 48, having a small cast. That's part of the reason why this is a better film. With the bigger cast, let us fill out the world more. It let us make it feel like it's not three people making a film. It's a living, breathing world where there's other people around. That's part of what adds to the realism and the effectiveness of this story in particular.
For sure.
Yeah.
Love it.
What about Erik? Where's Erik? Damn it, Erik.
I don't get everybody, so I don't even.
Erik Sanchez? He should be somewhere on here.
Oh, he's disappeared for
He's
the time
muted.
being.
He's muted. And Austin doesn't want to talk.
He might be on the 10-1. No, well, we'll talk to Austin and
Hey, Daniel's here.
and everybody right now. Yeah, because they're the editors. We definitely want to get to them. I don't know if you had anything else for the actors, Juan. Or anything.
No, yeah, you guys have been a delight. You know, again, you've brought the characters to life. You've brought Carlos's world to life, and most importantly, you know, you've everybody here matched everybody's hustle, and I think that's one of the things that I loved about having been on the set, was just seeing everybody communicate with each other in this like rhythmic like artistry that we call filmmaking, and you know, even if we didn't win, we would have always questioned that decision.
Jesse.
But we were able to walk away knowing that we told a damn good story, and because of our director and our DPs and our editors, which we'll talk to in a bit, we're able to sleep a little comfortably that night when you know we took the prize. But thank you, Castro and Valerie, so much for your time. You know, we've loved you. We can't wait for you guys to collab with Carlos again. And
please.
And
Is anybody else bummed out that we're not going back to back?
Well, you know, we don't know what's happening with this coronavirus thing, man. And hopefully, I know I've talked to Drew. Luckily,
15 days.
Thankfully, Drew has been very kind as a film commissioner, and he's come to us as a consultant. Like, he consults on our films, and we consult with him on the El Paso Film Commission, at least, you know, when it's going on. And he was kind enough to reach out to me and reach out to the Tower execs and be like, hey guys, what do we got to do better for the next 48? What can we do better? And we gave him a whole kind of laundry list of things that we think could make the festival better. And I think that might be Tower's play this year, if we're lucky enough to have a 48. Is we're going to be there more on the consulting basis rather than be participating in the festival. So,
but the chances are that it's not going to happen, right?
Chances are it's not. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. Chances
Look,
are
man, it's we got to keep the tradition of the El Paso 48 going.
Yep.
So, Board Film Studios took home first place last year, and they didn't participate last year.
But so I mean, if it doesn't,
we won this year, so we can't participate this year. We
what I love about
but if it doesn't happen, by default we win, right?
What I love about the audience award is the tradition of the audience award is you have to pass it on to the next team, the plaque. And we're going to do that at some point. What I love is that Tower Productions' name is the first 2 slots on that board, and that's going to be there forever. So I love that our team was able to do that.
And now we come to the final and most important thing to talk about: the poor editors who were forced to work inside of Carlos's stinky room.
Oh, damn.
So stinky.
I don't remember when it was.
Like dog. I mean, it's like dog. It's all good.
But I mean, we have Daniel, we have Jesse. Who else was editing? I think it was also
Austin, Michael.
Damn.
Michael. And yourself,
4
Juan.
editors, yo.
Juan also edited.
And Juan, yeah, that's true.
3 computers? Did we have 3 computers? I was thinking about this.
In the room, yeah.
Yeah, we had 3 computers in the room.
You had your Mac.
We were just using Austin's computer to edit the whole time.
And then Michael was taking care of like effects and overlays on his.
Yes, he did the text.
True.
Yeah. Or somebody.
That's
a legit crew.
Yeah, Michael did do the credits as well.
One of the questions I guess we could start asking is these are questions that De La Hoja has actually cooked up. How is it editing in a group compared to most of the time, you know, since we're all independent filmmakers, I honestly want to say this is probably the most like Hollywood production we've had, because as we all know, in real life, like movies that they make, not real life, but in movies that they actually have where it's like a bigger team and stuff. You do have the main editor, but then you also have assistant editors, kind of like stitching together some of the scenes, and then it all kind of comes and piles in together. How was it editing in a group as compared to just editing solo?
Well, before the editors kind of get into that, I just want to mention in terms of it being a Hollywood kind of presence and feel to it, this was the first picture where I really, really wanted to establish El Paso being our Hollywood, which is why we opened the film on Scenic Drive and the kind of what we created as the hiking canyon, almost like Runyon Canyon in LA. But we always have in these pictures, these Hollywood pictures, we have people hiking up and down the Runyon Canyon or Griffith Park. And I was like, well, I want to create that vibe for us and have the city skyline in the distance and have this big kind of Hollywood moment. So the editors were able to pull that off in moments I'll let them talk about. But that was the whole feel. The whole feel was supposed to be that this was what LA was to La La Land, El Paso was going to be for It's Funny and beyond. So
all editors speak at once.
That just shows you we're not used to being in front of the camera.
Yeah.
Jesse, you want to go for the question? It was what's
first? No, let's go in order. Let's go in order of who has edited first and what order and all that.
Who did it?
I gotta go.
Okay, yeah. Wait, what's the list of editing? Like order?
I was last.
Yeah, Jesse was last. Jesse brought us home.
One thing I do want to mention, and just piggybacking off what Juan was saying, how usually productions have like assistant editors and editors. Technically on this film, if we would have taken that route of listing people as assistant editors and the main editor, Jesse would have been listed as the main editor and the rest of us as assistants, because all of us did principal assembly and Jesse was the one that went in there and really dug in with Carlos to
shape the story
and shape it all. But just in, the amount of work that we all put in, I kind of fought for all of us to get equal editing credit. And I really hope, Jesse didn't feel like we took any thunder from him, because we all really do recognize what he was able to do to really shape the story with Carlos. But I do want to go ahead and mention that at least.
Well, pretty much everyone did the heavy lifting first. Yeah. And I was just there too. Pretty much, at the end. But pretty much the job was done on this film by Austin, Daniel.
What's really cool too is that Austin knows this because he's my editor. He's the Thelma Schoonmaker to my Scorsese. And the thing about editing you as a director is Austin never lets me in until at least there's a rough cut. Like, he doesn't let me in the editing room. I can't do principal assembly with him, and I'd rather not. I don't like doing principal assembly. I don't like putting my hands on that. But Austin they were cool enough to, like, when editing started, I was finally able to go sleep. Like, they made me go to sleep for while they were cutting the picture together. And I didn't wake up until 6 a.m. You guys woke me up to show me the first cut, which I think was like 10 minutes, Austin, 12 minutes.
I don't know.
It had to be after 6.
Yeah,
it had to be after 6 because I went to sleep on the couch.
Yeah,
and I was expecting to be woken up at like 3 or 4 in the morning, and I literally, my eyes popped open. I'm like, something's wrong because nobody's woken me up, and it's like 6 o'clock in the morning, and so I walk in. And Austin, everybody in the room is asleep, and Austin is sitting on his chair asleep. And I tap him on the shoulder, and he opens his eyes and looks at me. The first thing he says is, first cut was 14 minutes, second cut was 12. He gets up and walks out. I'm like,
dedicated editor.
Okay.
Dedicated editor.
Love that story. I love that story. Was Daniel first or was Austin first? It was one of you.
I think Daniel took for sure.
First.
So
I don't know.
Because I got there late because of work. Yeah. So actually, as soon as I got there, I took over and did a couple scenes.
So Austin was first then?
Yeah.
No, you know what? No. I don't know.
Okay, so first.
So I know I was at least second because once I had gotten there was already some editing done.
Okay. So I think the order it went was I took first shift, and then Daniel came in. And I was falling asleep while Daniel was doing it. And then Juan jumped in to do a scene or two and woke me up, and I got to it. And the funny thing about how Michael brings up that I fell asleep, I remember he told me, he was like, I walked in and I see you looking at keyboards. And I was like, oh, no, hold on. I remember. And I told him, I was like, no, I just finished up, like, trimming it down. I think I had gotten it down to like 9 minutes or something like that. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to take a little break. I'm going to browse Reddit for a couple minutes and then I'll get back to it. So I guess that's when I fell asleep. But in my half sleep deprived state, all I remember was walking to the couch. I looked down. I was like, oh, Michael lost his spot. And I just laid down and went to sleep.
He doesn't remember the conversation he had with Michael about the cut. And that's very often with Austin, by the way. Don't ever talk to Austin when he's sleepy or he just woke up.
It wasn't the conversation. It was a statement and he walked out.
So just so you guys know, I'm trying to get a mental image because in my head of how the editing process was. Because, I mean, I just feel like when you're editing, at least when you start off, you think in a very like isolated manner of like, okay, I have my workflow. I know the way I'm going to get things across and all that. And you're jumping around. You're trying to basically get the same emotional context and the same feeling and the same structure and the best takes and all that, all while working with different people. So I just made a little map right here, and you can tell me if it's accurate. So that's basically what the editing room looked like, right? It's just
That's about right.
Okay.
So essentially the way we kind of started was we got the footage and Michael offered to kind of save time was to throw it into Pluralize on his computer, which he had installed, which is a great tool but can be buggy at times, which will automatically sync the audio and video together.
Excuse me.
Huh?
Shout out to Ricky, by the way. Ricky did fantastic in the audio on this.
Yeah, he did.
We had wind. We had wind in the hiking scenes, and the actors had lapels, and it sounded fantastic on both sides, on every single side of the echoes. And
Shout out to
everything.
Ricky.
It was great. Shout out to Ricky.
So that's how the process started, and we just got into it. And I think originally on the first cut, we attacked it in a sort of way like the comedians just said their whole skit, and then we come back to the other one. And I think that's where we shaved a lot of the time off, was intercutting between the comedians. And I think that added a whole lot more to the story. And then that's when Daniel kind of jumped in and took over, and then Juan came in.
That's actually the scene I put together was I cut Eric's specific like roll through scene, and then I cut Valerie's. And then like after I did that, I think I cut one more scene, and then I think I gave it back to Austin or someone to like take over. And I remember like waking up, and then like the scenes I cut had been intercut together and interlaced. I was like, oh, that's what you wanted to do originally? Like,
yeah,
I didn't understand that
I was the one that intercut those. That was one of the reasons why it was long. And word of advice for anybody that's going to do a 48-hour shoot in the future: don't do a single take. It's just kill your time. Get coverage.
Oh yeah, regardless. Well, thanks, Michael, for doing that. Because like, holy shit.
I just remember I wanted. Well, look, if you know me as a director, you know I love single takes, and I wanted single takes, and I fought for single takes, but there was a method to my madness, because I referenced for the editing, I referenced funny people, and I had showed you guys those scenes in Funny People in the editing where we intercut between comedians, and that's the exact same tone I wanted to go for. So once Michael intercut those two things, I probably didn't see the film till after Michael's cut, or maybe after Austin's. So I didn't see the original thing you had done, Daniel. Which you're absolutely right. I wanted the intercut between these two guys.
Yeah, you probably would have been mad then if you had saw that. But like, hopefully I made the intercutting easier for Michael when both scenes.
I remember I did the intercutting, and I remember we had to cut out. That was where a lot of the that subplot was actually set up in that first scene. We had to cut a ton of that to get to time. And I remember I did a cut and I left for some reason, and I came back later on, and somebody had done an effect. That panning effect is not in camera. That was all done in post, and it worked. It was really nice. I think Daniel did
that actually.
So.
Yeah,
or Jesse.
Really nice.
I don't know. Maybe
I think Daniel did the original, and then Jesse cleaned it up. I want to say.
Oh yeah, actually yeah, that's exactly, because I was trying to get something, but I couldn't quite. I remember like applying effects on effects to increase the speed of the panning, but even then I didn't get it to where I wanted to. And I think Jesse did actually.
With the whole like 48 film going on, and I know that you guys were all jumping in like different hats and different roles. how were you managing like files basically at the time? Because I mean, you were shooting on the Black Magic. I'm assuming that's taking in data like crazy. You know, you're redoing batteries. Like, how do you manage all that so that way when you get to editing, it's
good question. I have the same question.
Austin's computer would definitely handle the load, and Michael is already trained in switching out hard drives and keeping track of hard drives to make sure we have the footage in order.
That seems like the most overwhelming thing. Like, it's just how do you?
I think I took like an hour organizing everything into bins, or not even that, because Pluralize throws Well, Pluralize doesn't even, how do I put it? So the way Pluralize works, and I'm sorry I'm getting technical here, it throws everything into one sequence, and everything's just into the video and the audio, and you can't combine the files. So I think what we did was we created sequences for every scene, and then we threw, the synced shots in there, and that's what we kind of organized, and then we edited by scene. Because usually the best way to organize is through bins. Premiere. Premiere's better than Resolve.
If I remember right, it was all on one drive. It was all on one of these SSDs, because we were shooting ProRes because we didn't have Blackmagic RAW for everything for all the computers yet.
Isn't there that anxiety of maybe that one drive gives out?
Less so with SSDs.
I don't know anything.
It hasn't happened yet. So
the three computers they're talking about, kind of just so people get a picture painted. We had my Mac, which was serving as the writing computer /
like back office paperwork.
Office paperwork, printing type stuff. That's what my Mac was doing in the background. And then we had Austin's computer, which was the main editing computer, sound mixing computer, all that. And then we had Michael's computer, which was doing credits and special effects, like the phone popping up on the screen while she's texting. Michael did that on his computer, and After Effects and stuff like that. Yeah, we had those three different computers working at the same time doing that specific thing. But Austin's computer, if you don't know, Austin builds his computer piece by piece, and it's specifically designed for editing.
Oh yeah, PC gang.
And they do that obviously so that he has the capacity for big massive projects like these. So
it's scary, man, having everything in one drive. Like, oof. I would have slapped some of you guys.
Yeah, but the thing is, with these 48 hours, you don't have a whole lot of time to be backing up.
Yeah, man. More credit to you guys.
You just got to go for it. I mean,
we just had to trust our equipment, and it didn't fail us this time.
And I gotta ask.
I've heard of 48-hour groups that lose everything.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm asking.
It does happen.
Yeah, sometimes they go out. But I gotta ask.
That's the risk we take in order to produce what we produce, or make what we make. So
right.
Yeah, my bad, Juan. I don't think they answered. Was there any arguments? Like, you guys got to be honest. Like, 4 people or how many? 5 people?
They weren't co-editing. If you think about it, they were just.
But like somebody didn't like that, and it's like,
we just worked in shifts, and then like.
Yeah.
So basically, it was just.
We did what we had to do. We followed the script, and like the DPs had a certain way, and we all just edit with a flow or certain.
Really?
Yeah. The main thing to avoid those type of arguments is exactly the way we worked. Is we take our shifts, and then when the time comes, one editor takes the last shift and he's there with the director.
But I'm saying,
last final touches, like what Jesse did. When the moment Jesse took over, none of us even stepped in. None of us tried to change anything. None of us gave our opinion, because at that point, that's the last assembly of it. That's the last time that somebody's going to touch it, and there's no point in changing it.
Also, Castro, I think to your question,
that's trust.
There's 2 things. There's 2 things to keep in mind here. Number one, when Michael would edit, he'd go off and take his break, or he'd go off and go to sleep. Or Daniel was editing, he'd go off. Like, they'd kind of be out of the room. That's 1. 2, we didn't have time to argue, dude. Like, it didn't matter. It didn't matter whose opinion
that's pretty
was
much it. Yeah.
Other than when I came in with Jesse, that's when me and Jesse kind of went back and forth about certain things, I think. And it wasn't even an argument. I think we just kind of were trying to get on the same page about
the only experience I have in a similar situation is I worked with Daniel. That's how basically I met all of you guys.
Yeah.
But when we were working on like our project for like class and all that, and you're working with the deadline, it's funky because I never thought of co-editing working in the way it did, and the way we were able to kind of get things like accomplished, at least for like our individual project. Because
you would think, yeah,
I would have thought that you'd have one vision for the way things are going, and the other person would have one vision, and then those just kind of like clash and all that. But
exactly.
Would you say
that wasn't the case at all? We worked together pretty well. Like we did it in shifts too, right? I would edit a little bit, you would edit, and then we
basically
talk about like how this edit went or like what we thought. I remember that.
You know what's interesting?
I got a question.
Our partner Troy. We'd mainly complain about our partner Troy not doing.
I feel like I'm on Fox News.
I got a question really quick, and this is something that I think a lot of us are looking over. I got a question for Juan. Juan, this was the first Tower project that you got to edit on. Like, how did it feel? You know, with it being a 48-hour. I'm putting the host on the spot. Like, being able to come in and knowing that we had the confidence in you to be able to put some stuff together for the film.
Ooh. Well, yeah.
Take it.
Yeah, you know, like I've had the privilege of editing like some big projects and stuff, and having like, so I kind of like was ready to like take a little slice and then let you guys like sort of like, I knew what my role was. I was like, okay, yeah, like I'll put it together and then I'll send it their way, and then whatever happens, like obviously for the sake of the film, like it'll be re-edited to fit their vision. But my job was just to put things together. But yeah, I totally did feel that pressure to deliver, just to deliver, like, you know what I mean? Like I had to show that, like, yeah, I knew my way around the editing system, and mind you, like I didn't even have like I've been grateful enough to be given a PC by Castro in Austin. But before that, I think Carlos had let me use his Mac for a while. Yeah. And so like, you know, I felt like I was given the wiggle room, just be like, hey man, just put it together. And you know what I mean? Like, so I was
definitely there.
Right. You know, and I thank you. And yeah, like I just appreciated that you guys didn't, you know what I mean? Just didn't overlook at my shoulder. You guys just sort of trusted me, and yeah.
Because you've had those instances,
that's cool.
Juan, and you know, we know you've told us about those instances where they're constantly people are here, and I'm glad that you didn't feel that pressure here, because you know what's interesting is that Austin and Daniel have co-edited a feature before. Mm-hmm. Okay, so they had a kind of a shorthand between them. Michael and Austin have kind of sort of consulted each other on editing and co-edited certain things too. So there was already that established relationship between all of them. And then Juan comes in, and Austin was like, you know what, man, we know you know how to cut. How about you just cut the scene while we go take a break or whatever, what have you. So I think that trust was already there between them. And then right there, Austin kind of made that executive decision, like, Juan knows how to cut. Let's let him cut. Like, he's got this. So I think that was
throw him in the pool.
Yeah. How else are you gonna learn, man?
Exactly.
Get thrown in the fire like the rest of us.
Yeah. I think it's just important. You got to have that sense of trust and the sense of, you know, being able to have faith that the person next to you can also do a competent job, and you can do a competent job, and you're all working just towards making something great, but together. So
I'm wanting to say that when it comes to this this film, the editing, everybody says, and it's, if you work in the film industry or you know about film, editing is rewriting, and I think everybody can wholeheartedly agree. Editing is the final rewrite of the film, and the 8-minute cut as opposed to the 13-minute cut is a key example of how the 8-minute cut is kind of a different story. It has a different feel to it that the 13-minute cut has. And I accredit that entirely to the editors, because I think, if I'm not mistaken, yeah, Jesse and I kind of finalized the film for sure, and I'll let you guys talk about that. But for the 13-minute cut, because Jesse and I had shaped kind of the final thing, I think, Jesse, you did the 13-minute cut, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah, after all 48 hours, after a few weeks. So you decided that we should release that cut,
right?
So the director's cut, right?
Yeah,
right.
Instead of what we showed on the on theater that day. So we what I did pretty much is polish what everybody did here and on the director's cut, and you have to be there and trust. I mean,
I have to ask, because Jesse, you're going to be probably the last one to answer, because you really got to see the full story. I think you came in the morning, Sunday morning, like at 6, 7 a.m. To finalize the cut, right? But before that, everybody was working overnight. I have to ask all the editors, did you guys see the vision at the editing? You know, because I obviously everybody was questioning me purposefully and rightfully so, like questioning my vision and whether we were going to make time or whether the story was there or not. When it came to the editing, were you guys able to see the story come to life, or was it until we got to Jesse's cut that we were like, oh, this was what Carlos wanted? Like, or did you guys kind of see it? I'm curious as to the editor, just what you guys thought.
Yeah, me too.
Mm-hmm.
I remember when I was filming Jesse edit, and there was this one moment where he was editing the beginning and he put the title in, and I saw that first scene and I was like, oh shoot, like, okay, like I totally get where this is going now. And then I remember when they were adding the effects and the text messages and everything, and then I really saw what we were doing and I was like, oh my gosh, we just, like, in my heart I was like, we literally made a film. But I wonder what these other editors felt too. Like, for me, that was the moment when I saw Jesse put in the title, and he was just like, going back and forth, seeing how the timing of it would be, and yeah, like the moment I saw that, you know what's funny title, I was like, it's real.
Yeah, you have to be prepared on, this is not just one editor credit. We have a bunch. So when I came in, I didn't know at what stage of the editing we were in.
Fresh set of eyes.
Pretty much you have to work on what's already done. You cannot be there and say, this is my cut and this is mine.
Good.
You have to continue what's been done and perfect it maybe, or fix it here and there or whatever. Yeah. But I didn't feel like I changed a lot from what was already done. But I don't know what you guys think about it.
I as a director, like, my brain always goes to the end product, and I know what the end product needs to be, and I'm gonna voice my opinion if the end product isn't there. But for the editors, that's why I'm really curious as to, like, I know what the film is gonna look like, but that doesn't mean you guys have the same mentality as me. I have to communicate that. So did I communicate it well enough? Were you guys able to see exactly what we were going for, or was it just a time crunch and you didn't think about it until we polished the film at the end?
Well, personally, like, I missed the whole part where you showed them like scenes of movies from like funny people and stuff, because I was at work. Yeah. So the vision that I initially had is actually just something that I was already building in my head as we were shooting, when I was there as a PA helping you guys out. Like, I saw the scenes come together and I would kind of edit in my head, like, okay, I can kind of see this and I can kind of see that. Like, if I was there for the whole like funny people talk where the scenes were like intercut and how you want to do that, I would have just done that right off the bat, instead of cutting that like each individual scene.
No, I'm grateful that you cut it that way, because I'm grateful that you come in that way, because those two scenes have to be edited as individual scenes. Each character has to have their own voice before we bring them together. So I'm grateful that you edited that way. And I'm not the type of director. I know directors do this. I know Michael works this way. I know when Austin directs, he works this way. Even Erik, to a certain degree, works this way. Santos. I don't work as an editor. I mean, I know how to edit, but I don't edit my own films for the same reason. I'm not on set. I'm not on set thinking about the cuts. I'm not. Yeah, I'm just
and honestly, I only do that like because that's something I've had to learn from working in news. Because as I work in news and I work on different news stories every day, I have to kind of already visualize the story as I'm getting my shots. And so when I'm there and I see like how the film is coming together, it's just more of a natural habit for me to be like, okay, so I can kind of see where this is going to come together, and I can kind of see where this scene will blend into this scene. And like, as long as I'm there, it's already visually being put in my head. And I know it's not going to come out like how I see it when I start editing, because it never really does. Like, because I try to go with like a flow of editing where it's not necessarily like my workflow, but it's like a good flow for the movie where everything feels natural, and like a cut isn't a cut that you necessarily notice because it feels so natural, because it was so well done and stuff like that. And so that's where my initial vision, but like that comes from, I've been editing for like 8 years now. So that's just been built up over time now. And that's how I see things. And now that I'm also a photographer, like that's just how my mind works in a way.
And Michael and Austin, I really want to hear from you guys. Like, you guys were there from the inception of me putting this story together. So you're at the end now, and you either revert back to what we talked about, putting the story together, or you take it from from where you are and wing it and see what happens. So I really want to hear from you guys about the editing process for sure.
Well, I want to make a general statement first, kind of what Daniel was talking about. As someone that directs and DPs and edits, I've had to explain to directors that don't edit how some things will not work the way they think it's going to. That's a big deal. And sometimes they've listened to me and sometimes they haven't. And when they haven't, it fails miserably.
There's a moment in the doc, Michael, where we see that. There's a moment in the doc where you as my DP are telling me, are we going straight cut or are we going to fade out? And I kept arguing like, no, we should let it fade out and it'll write out. And you were like, that's not going to work. And then I thought back to Funny People and how it's cut. And I told you, straight cut. That's fine. We'll go straight cut and it'll feel more natural. You're right. And you're right. You had to convince me about that in a few instances. For sure. What about you, Austin? Like, I think you and I, we obviously have the biggest shorthand because you've been my editor for almost everything. Daniel has been my editor for music videos and for other pieces. And obviously for Depth of Field. You both have collaborated, but you and I had the biggest shorthand. And I remember you constantly telling the editors, nah, the Carlos isn't going to like that. Or I know what Carlos is going to want. Or I know, did you ever have any of those moments? Like
on this one, I don't think so. And I mean,
I don't remember.
I don't really, because
like that ever.
Yeah, I don't think we really had that kind of discussion because we all kind of had the feeling of what you were going for. I'm going to be completely honest. The whole intercutting thing flew by me until we had the first rough cut done, and when I got down to trimming it and I was like, hey, this is a great way to save time. I didn't even like think about how you originally wanted it to be. Like, Funny People, I'm gonna put myself on the spot that I didn't even think about it.
Gotcha.
It was just a way for me to save time on the cut, and that's when Michael came in after me and was able to go in and refine it. But yeah, I don't think any of us really had that. I mean, me and Daniel have had that discussion before when we co-edited, whether it be the feature or There's Still Time. Working together and be like, nah, dude, is not going to like that, or he is, and stuff like that. But on this one, it was very cohesive. I think we all pretty much had the same vision of where we wanted this to go. And I think that's why the five of us really all worked really well together on the editing front of it.
I don't know if there's ever been a moment where we had, I know, especially on bigger pictures like Marvel pictures, they have multiple editors, but I've only seen really like a max of 3 or 4. I don't think I've ever seen like 5, working that many chefs in the kitchen, that many cooks in the kitchen. But I guess we can bring it back to Jesse. What did you feel once you saw the cut? You came in that morning and you brought us home, dude. And I'm super grateful that your sensibilities as an editor, dude. I love every single editor on this film. I've worked with every single one of them on one project or another. And Jesse, I don't know that you and I had ever worked together in that relationship of editor director, but you brought us home and you knew the sensibilities I was going for. And like Erik says, I was preaching La La Land to you, and I kept showing you moments and clips and the score and all this stuff. And I think you really brought that home, like Juan was saying.
Yeah. Well, like I said, pretty much all the heavy lifting was already done when I came in. So I don't recall exactly what what my input was. I mean, it was like the title and some polishing on the transitions.
I remember, Jesse, you also added, we shot at Michael's house and we never got an establishing shot of the house. So you got...
Oh, yeah, that's true.
You threw in a stock footage of some random house.
That's true. Yeah, because I told him, you know what, we need something here just to imply we're in a separate location.
Right.
So I was like, do you have something like that? And I'm like, no.
And we didn't get it. Yeah, we didn't get it.
Okay, let's go to stock images and generic house and
that's awesome.
I just found it funny because I don't think anybody else thought about this, but I started thinking about it after the fact. That one shot always, not that it bothered me, it just always stayed in the front of my mind because I thought these are two struggling comedians that live in the nicest house. Like,
oh yeah, and it's like near a forest, and like I mean, like you could tell animals come down and bring them food daily.
Big screen TV.
I just thought that way. Like I just didn't think when we were cutting it, but after the fact, I was like, well, they probably live in an apartment. You know what I'm saying? They probably live.
Not a standard house in the Northeast. Come on.
Yeah.
No, they had that mommy daddy money.
But no, Jesse definitely contributed that. And one of my favorite moments about editing with Jesse was the ending. That's where Jesse and I think, really hit our stride, was when we were editing the ending and the final shots of It's editing is so important, and I can't stress this enough. And if you leave a shot longer than 2-3 seconds, or if you cut it shorter 2-3 seconds, it makes a huge deal.
Yes.
And Jesse and I were talking about how long we were going to let these looks linger. And we probably would have let them linger a little longer if we had the footage.
I think that was because we didn't have the music
right
at that time, and I was like, well, it could work if the music, follows through,
Yeah.
And then I think at that
what
moment
time
it was like, okay,
the music.
we got it for like at 1 p.m. or maybe
Damn.
something like that.
You don't think it would have helped knowing the music already?
It always helps having the music ahead of time, but like the way everything was put together, they get the music late, so it was all Jesse.
Yeah.
Coming in clutch, Jesse.
Well, Jesse, I think I referenced when I talked to the editor that morning when Jesse and I kind of took over. I talked to the composer that morning and I sent him the 500 Days of Summer score, and that was the basis for our score. And then Jesse, I showed him some reference shots from La La Land, and he automatically got it. But Jesse also contributed what I wanted. Like my biggest dream was to have that La La Land ending of the overture, where we had the end. I even had our composer write us an overture for the same reason. I wanted an overture, but I wanted it to say made in El Paso, USA, not made in Hollywood, USA. And in the documentary, you can see them side by side. You can see the La La Land ending and you can see our ending in the doc. And you can see that. I was so happy, man, that Jesse was able to pull that off. And he did the effect of the writing at the end and all of that. So just those little touches that Jesse kind of put at the end really tied together the film for me, and then I felt it was complete when it got to that point.
Yeah, again, I was just there to polish what the work was done, and the flow was there, the music was there. So
did that affect you for the 13-minute cut? I know for the 13-minute cut, you brought in the comedians, you brought in more of the subplot between your character and Alfredo and that type of thing. Did that affect any? Like, did that change anything for you? I don't know.
No, I mean, we already had like the pace of the film. So adding those extra scenes to that cut was not hard. I mean,
look at all your humble pie over here.
No, it's
no, because it was shot beautifully. I mean, it's the work of the whole team, pretty much. Yes. I mean, sometimes when you are choosing between shots, you choose the best on audio, how it looks and how it acts, the performance. And on this one, it was like, okay, this is the one. It's perfectly lit. It's perfectly shot. The performance is great. So just, it's easy.
I gotta ask. So since you saw it and you saw that it was all pretty well put together, were you nervous? Was that a little bit more extra pressure of like, oh, okay, I gotta just do the final touch on this? Oh, no. You have that confidence. Really? I like that.
I mean, I guess it's easy for me because everything looks, sounds, and it's good. So that's half of the work done. So just
the crew.
Yeah, I guess. Sorry, go ahead. No, go ahead, Juan. No. I was just going to say that the editing really, 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 really was important for this film particularly. And I guess the sensibilities of each of the cuts was all credited to each of the editors. And it wouldn't have been the same film if I would have had just one of them on this thing. So
yeah, definitely.
And me as an actor, man, I'm just amazed at what you guys could do as a group. It's just, that's amazing. No hiccup.
Yeah, I was gonna say, now that we've got a complete rundown of the process, what would you guys say is your the best tip for an editor of a 48-hour film challenge? I
can start. You have to be able to get rid of all your precognition. How do you say that?
Preconceived.
I loved it.
Preconceived notions of how you edit, because every editor has its own workflow. I've been editing with the same computer for like 10 years. Whoa. And then suddenly this computer with different shortcuts and this and that, the even the keyboard was different.
Nice.
So I remember when I was trying to do default transitions.
Oh my god. There's a reason behind it, but go ahead, finish your story.
Yeah. Usually I have it set on crossfade. So, you apply the default transition and it's a crossfade. You transition slowly. And then I would apply this on this computer, and it would be like, what was it? The pan or the
it was like
wipe?
a 3D wipe or something. Okay,
Yeah.
so I need to defend myself here because this is my computer. Okay, all right. Jesse's right. My usual one is a crossfade, and I have changed it back after the 2-day challenge. But like a week or two before, I had just edited like a quinceañera type video. So to save time between, changing back between everything, I had changed the default transition to that 3D spin or whatever to save myself time, and I never changed it back. Okay. But just to let y'all know, it's back to crossfade. It happened during the 2-day. I changed it back. Okay. It was just because of that.
For the reception, right, and for the actual award ceremony, were all you guys there, guys? All the editors, were you guys present?
No, I had to work.
You had to work, Daniel. I think
Daniel, you missed it.
I think I was the only one that
Daniel and Juan weren't able to make it.
I would have hugged you, dude.
I wasn't there.
Juan wasn't able to make it.
I could have.
I hugged some old random lady, dude, when we won.
The random lady
for me, dude. So she was so happy that I hugged her. I was like, yeah.
I just want you guys to know, man. I won. I know Valerie had a dip and some of the other people, but anybody who's listening and you were a part of this, I know we had extra cast, and even John Gonzalez was an extra for the film and stuff like that. I just want you guys to know that night, I still go back to it, man. When I'm feeling insecure, when I'm feeling like I don't know what to do next, or if my next decision isn't the right one, or if I just feel like down about something or about being a director, I really do go back to this film, and I go back to that night where we won. And look, for those of you listening out there, when it comes to this 48-hour challenge, over 30 teams participated. We're competing against 30 teams.
Yep.
We're competing against 30 teams. The judges were either worked in the industry or were from LA and came down to judge. I do want to just kind of tell you guys a really quick story. What happened? I got a text message from Drew, the film commissioner, and I don't think Drew had anything to do with the judging. I don't think he was able to judge, if I'm not mistaken. So there were outside judges, but I guess he was able to preview the film midweek, and he texted me the moment he saw it, and he was like, dude, you nailed it on your film. You guys nailed it. So this was before we knew anything about the award ceremony, or this was before the award ceremony. And that text message just like, it made my week. It had me going all week. He just said, you guys nailed it, man. Like, you nailed your film.
I think you sent it to me too, so you could calm me down, because I was really nervous.
Yeah, I think so. And when we got to the award ceremony, man, I promise you guys, we weren't expecting any of it. We weren't expecting winning anything at all. And I remember, it's kind of like, if you guys have seen that new Hollywood series on Netflix, there's moments where they have this film and they go to the Academy Awards and they're getting ready to see if they're going to win or not. The first few awards we didn't win at all. Like we weren't winning anything, and there was like 10 or 15 awards. Best director went to somebody else.
Yeah,
that kind of like bummed me out. Best actor went to somebody else. Best editor went to somebody else. And so I was like, oh, all right, man. I guess we didn't pull off what I thought we did, but I'm really happy with the film. So it is what it is.
But the final two are the best.
And then we got to the best use of line, which was the first one we won, which Jesse's line delivered. Please tell me you kept your mouth shut. Like Juan says, the punchline of the film, and everybody loved it and everybody cracked up on it, and we got the genuine audience reaction to that.
Yeah.
That was the best experience, by the way, to get a genuine audience, get a general audience watch the film.
Exactly.
And see the reaction. That was my biggest takeaway from that night.
Austin, are you missing something? Where's the plaque? Where's the...
Ooh, yeah, we haven't seen it.
Back to back.
The plaque's kind of hanging about 8 feet on my wall above two of the tower posters.
Bring
put
the
it on
wall
top of
down.
your bed?
Bring the wall down. We got time.
Bring the wall down, but I can bring this out.
I wonder why it's on top of your bed, though.
Hey.
So that is the first.
Look at that. First place in golf. Man, I didn't know you played.
Putt, man. That's a putt
The
trophy.
first place trophy is what Austin is showing for those of you who are listening and not seeing. But we
says in golf, I swear.
get to the audience award. No, we get to third place, and we thought we gotta at least win third place. We had already seen all the films at this point, and all the films were okay. There was maybe one or two other films that really drove it home and made an impression.
I almost snuck out, dude.
Yeah, and we get to third place and we don't win third place. The guy that won best director won third place, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh.
And I was like, okay, all right. Well,
Okay.
and then we get to second place, and when we didn't win second place, I was like, that's it, man. They're gonna give it to somebody else. Like we're done. And then we get to first place, and we win, and it was this big moment, and we all got on stage and we celebrated, and it was just fantastic. And the biggest thing I remember is the host of the evening. Her name's Jessica. She's an actress. She's wearing a pink dress that night. And I remember she made the biggest impression on me because if you guys know her or anything about her, she's a fantastic actress. She even worked on one of the 48s, the new segment one with Robert Olguin, which is really cool. And she's an actress who lives in LA and is professionally working. She came out in Supergirl for the WB, and she's come out on Criminal Minds and a bunch of shows. She's been a recurring character on a bunch of big shows out there in LA. And when this was announced, right before she said our name, she looked at the envelope and she said out loud, she's like, yes, because I was fighting for this one. I fought for this one to win. I fought for this one to win.
Really?
And then she announced Tower Productions, what's funny. And that was a bit, that stayed engraved in my mind that she said, I was fighting for this one. This one was like, I was fighting for this one. And I can just imagine what the judges were going back and forth about, you know what I'm saying? Like after she said that. So we will take first place, and then we thought, great, the night's done, we win, we're out, we got it.
Everybody sucks, we don't.
And then we get
So hold on, before you get to that, I got a little small story that I think a lot of people in the theater didn't fully understand what happened, but
I gotta ask, what's the story?
So on Friday, we originally had taken the plaque with us, not to show off, but we had taken it back because the tradition is to pass it on to the next team. Yeah. So we take it, and Drew.
You wanted to put it on a chain, dude.
No, Drew told us, he was like, hey, I have this idea. You guys hang on to it. He's like, I have an idea where you guys hand it off to the next winner. Yeah. We're like, okay, that's a cool idea, So as we're walking off the stage from receiving the first place trophy, I kind of turned to him because they're like, all right, now we're going to announce the audience award winner. And I kind of try not to yell, but across the stage, I was like, do we stay up here to hand it off, Because I'm not assuming that we're going to win it. And Drew was like, what do you mean you stay up here? Get down. Like, what are you doing?
Oh, man.
Yeah, so I think a lot of people probably thought that we were being cocky, thinking we were going to win or something. Yeah. But I legitimately thought.
I think it was also like a running joke, Austin, that you had with Drew for the whole year. Anytime we'd had a meeting with Drew or we're talking to Drew about a film we're doing or something, you'd be like, hey, so we're coming back for the plaque. We're keeping the plaque another year. And it was always kind of an inside joke. I don't think there was any cockiness involved. Yeah. It was just you and Drew going back and forth about it. And you're right. Drew was like, get out of here. Like, he was just kind of being playful. Yeah. And sure enough, we win the audience award.
We didn't even sit down, right? Or did we?
I think we did. We did.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but ultimately, the way the audience award works, for everybody who doesn't know, is the audience literally in the room is given a link to vote on after they watch all of the 30 entries, or the ones that are in competition anyways, and they get to vote on their favorite film. And this was literally on the spot being voted on, and everybody on our team, we obviously voted for ours, and we kept, everybody kind of just was murmuring in the crowd after watching the films. And sure enough, we walked away for the second year in a row with the audience award for the 2-day challenge. Which,
like Tupac coming out of court, dog.
So we walked out of that with 3 awards. Yeah,
I didn't think we would. I thought it would go to the Mormon film.
Yeah.
Oh God,
which was hilarious.
What?
Are there any?
Well, that's the guy that won Best Director, man. That's the guy I have a gripe with because he won Best Director. It was fantastic. It was a funny film, but yeah, it was.
Can you name some of the films that maybe caught your guys' eyes that day?
Definitely that one. I think it was called man, no Jehovah's Witness Left Behind.
Oh yeah.
Something like that,
yeah.
and then that one, and the Albuquerque one, the one that was shot in Las Cruces. The
Cruces. It was the other chick flick one.
The chick flick.
Yeah, it was like a chili.
That one really caught my eye.
Chili. That one was terrific. Beyond that, there was one where they actually shot at the comic strip. And they were shooting in the parking lot. I think it was a zombie one. I'm not mistaken.
No, it's the one where you can't stop laughing.
That's right. That's it. That's it. That one kind of made it.
It was really good, well shot, but I didn't like the stop laughing.
But if I were an audience member outside of our crew, there was no comparison, man. Like our film really drove it. And
I only remember it from the first 2-day challenge, the one that didn't get accepted because it was I think put in late. The Fuber
was amazing.
So original.
I remember Fuber.
No, wow. You know what? What film did really stick out with me was Brandon's.
Oh yeah, the experimental film.
Which one was that one?
It was during the early showing.
It was like with puppets. It was out of competition. That one was really good too.
Oh yeah.
But they were all good, man. They were all good, and we filled out the theater pretty well, man. Like the Plaza Theater was filled to. If you don't know this about me, like I love the Plaza Theater. I have a special like place in my heart for that theater, just because since I was a little kid, we'd go to like Christmas. They show films there at the Plaza Theater for families, and it's just a beautiful theater. It's such a beautiful theater, and we've been able to shoot there professionally also, and it's just a beautiful vibe and environment. And we were able to fill that out with the 2-day this year. I just remember that. Like a lot of the teams were very supportive. A lot of the teams that we expected, we never really had a relationship with, or we always kind of, obviously you see everybody as a competition to a certain degree. Whereas we don't, we always love everybody who wants to work with us and just collaborate. But everybody walked up to us after that we didn't expect. And there were moments where we were on stage taking pictures, and when the moment they announced Tower Productions, it was funny because most of the teams actually, they walked out and like
haters.
They didn't even finish. Like they didn't even let us finish accepting our awards. They took off mid speeches or whatever.
Man.
So
bummed out because their films.
So I hope we motivated people for this upcoming 48. To show like, hey, we care about making quality films and we care about telling good stories, and you should care about doing the same. This isn't just about. This is everything to us, man. If you know anything about Tower, this is everything to us. Like this is family, this is our career, this is what we want to do with the rest of our lives. And
you know what?
So actually before
that's exactly it.
So I don't want to cut anybody off, but Daniel actually has to take off because he does have to go to work. So I want to hear Daniel's final thoughts right before he takes off.
What happened, man? Was there a murder in Fox News? What happened?
No, we have cut-ins today, so I have to go a little earlier.
Oh, okay. I feel you, dude.
So that sucks. But what are my final thoughts are like, we fucking killed it. Like we all worked together as a team from the very beginning, where I even showed up, I think, for the script writing day. Like I still showed up after work and I gave like my 2 cents. And so I don't know necessarily what I helped change, but I know like Carlos would bounce this off me, and I was like, oh, I think this and that, and he was like, oh, okay, And so but from there we went and we shot, and like we worked together as a team all together through the production, through editing, through pre-production. Like it was just great. Like I think it went smoother than the first time, but we were much more prepared. We had, instead of just the 2 or 3 editors, we had 5 editors. Like that's a luxury we don't have ever with most of our films, but
for sure.
Like it was awesome. I think we killed it, and I'm so glad that we won and that we even got the best line award, and that we won again for audience favorite. Like we deserve it. I think we deserved it all. And so
for sure.
I'm so happy to be a part of this.
Yeah. You're awesome, Daniel.
Well, thank you for coming on, man.
Daniel, we appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Daniel. And
see you all later then, okay?
Bye.
Yeah,
man.
Sure.
Peace
Love
out.
you, man. We'll talk to you soon.
Man. Take care,
guys.
Put in a good word for me.
Also, maybe that work on our advantage is that this film it's one of those that make you feel good at the end.
Ooh.
Like,
yeah.
The movie's finished, and then you're like, oh, good. I liked it. Like, I don't know if
that's what I
had to do with it, but it was good.
I was saying
it just felt good. It's my favorite film that I've ever worked on up to now. I mean, the Depth of Field has a special place in my heart too, because it was our first feature. But this film was everything I wanted to. I finally felt like a filmmaker after this film, man. Like I finally felt like we made something of quality and something that I'm super proud of. And it's been almost a year since we've made it, and I'm still preaching this film. I love everything about it, and I love how every department came together to put this together. And
Definitely,
there's no better compliment you can give to a director than seeing his vision and helping him accomplish it. And what more can I say, guys? Like, it's really where it's at.
What about Michael? Michael seems like
Michael, can we talk about that moment you and I had?
Seems like he's got something.
Can we talk about that moment you and I had? It was one of my favorite moments because it was like one of those like exhales. Once you and I we won the awards. What was your kind of final thought process at the end of it all?
I didn't think we were going to, because so many other people had won stuff, especially when they did the audience award. The way the audience had reacted to the Mormon film, I thought it was going to be them. And
they were racking up awards, right? They won a lot of awards.
Yeah.
So I was very pleasantly surprised. I was kind of in shock a little bit. I was still. Yeah. I knew we'd had to cut out so much, especially with the B plot, to make it fit in time, that I kind of wondered if the audience was going to connect with it all. But I don't remember what director said it, but some famous director said something along the lines of, pretty much unless it's a horror film or a comedy, you can't ever tell what people are thinking when they're watching your film. Because if it's a comedy and people are laughing, it's working. If it's a comedy and they're not laughing, the film isn't working. So, I mean, our film had a lot of funny stuff to it, and the audience did laugh. I remember that.
But I guess you're right. You can't see a rom-com. You can't see people like be heartwarmed, right? You can't see people like. Yeah, you're right.
You don't know what they're gonna feel in the moment. Yeah,
that's true. You're right.
And so somebody cannot not have a physical reaction to a film and love it. So it's one of those hard things to see and say. I mean, I was surprised. I'm glad it worked out better than I expected. That was totally. I was wrong. I freely admit that I was wrong.
No, and it's not even that you were wrong. It was like Michael and I had this very cool moment that I'll never forget. Where we're outside the theater. Maybe we were in the lobby area. I don't even remember where we were. I always picture it like we were in front of the marquee of the plaza. Mm-hmm. You and I were talking about the film, and you looked at me and you smiled and you were like, "I'm sorry I fought you, man. I'm sorry I fought you." And I'm like, "No, dude, we did it. Look at this." Like,
I don't remember that. So
you needed to fight me on it, and we kind of had that moment, and that was really special to me. Like, we kind of looked at each other like, "All right, we're good. We did it. Like, I'm gonna need that on set for the rest of my life, Michael. Like, I need you to, question me where I need to be questioned." And it was just a very beautiful moment for sure.
All right. Well, you know what's funny? I think we've reached an exciting conclusion to this. Our longest Tower podcast.
I think this is going to be. I think we need to discuss. This might be a two-parter.
This is a two-parter. This is definitely a two-parter.
Let's do it. Yeah.
Yeah.
But thank you guys.
Before we finish up the law, we need the funny word of the day.
Oh my God! The funny word of the day.
The funny word. Yeah.
Guess what? I prepared everything except the funny word of the day.
No.
Wait, let me give me a second. Give me a second.
Improv. You got 10 seconds.
Improv.
You on the spot.
Think of a movie.
Wait. Before maybe this will give you time.
4 seconds.
3
seconds.
Gaddy dancer. What is
it? Before you talk about that, can you talk about
that's a sugar daddy dancer.
Your first impression? Like, what was your first impression of this film? You didn't work with us on this. Like, what was, if anything?
Juan has been, okay, this is kind of a funny way to phrase it, but like Juan is the biggest advocate of Tower I've ever seen. Like every time we hear something positive about Tower or like this big, like prolonged speech, it's usually because, I almost wonder if you're like paying his heart so that way he keeps like busting out nice things to say. But honestly, when I watched this film, I truly didn't know it was a 2-hour challenge, and I mean it
2 hours, 2 days.
2 days.
2 days. Oh, that makes it even more exciting. No, I didn't know it was a 24-hour, 48-hour. Gosh, hours hard. No, I didn't know the 48-hour challenge, and I mean, what you guys were able to pull off as far as the story, the cinematography, the light, the editing, the acting. Except Castro. As far as pulling off everything, it's amazing. It came together so well, and I mean, I didn't slowly I learned that this was 48, and then I learned it won first place, and I mean, it's very well deserved because of the film alone. It's fantastic. I mean, I'm really happy that for the podcast we were able to talk about this film so long, and that it can be a two-parter, because it not only shows how the Tower 20 culminated to this film being one of your best, but it also shows just how effectively everybody kind of found their roles and found their place, and we're able to put it in such a way that now,
and it's very very well documented in Juan's doc, like I said, we saw that struggle. I just want to say, just before we wrap here, before the Lau gives us the line of the day, or the word.
He's got 3 minutes to think about it.
I already gave you one.
What was it?
Yeah, Gaddy Dancer.
Oh, Gaddy Dancer. What's Gaddy Dancer?
Does anybody have a guess?
Michael,
provocative.
You know it?
That's
is it a sugar daddy dancer?
You don't know what Gaddy Dancer is? Oh,
it's the Lao. The Lao is a Gaddy Dancer.
Isn't it the dun 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 dun?
No, that's not a Gaddy Dancer.
That's a
Gaddy Dancer is the oh my god, the first word of the day that you don't know. That's so exciting, monumental.
Oh, wow, really?
Season breaking.
Daffy Duck or something like that.
No, a Gaddy Dancer.
You got it.
Gaddy Dancer is the old slang used for railroad workers. So the people who worked on the railroad were known as Gaddy Dancers.
Because
I might have heard that word on Blazing Saddles.
I forgot where I heard the word from, but I remember when I heard it, it was for a period piece, and that's what they referred to them as, and apparently that's historically accurate. The origins will come soon. I really don't know where it came from, but
Google it.
Gaddy Dancer was a historically accurate word.
Very cool. Very
good
cool.
stuff. Good stuff.
So yeah, I just wanted to mention this was a very, I guess, definitive point in my directing career, or whatever you want to call it, because I had friends constantly tell me hey man, the films you had done before this, they felt far away from you. Whatever you did for this film, whatever. Yeah, I had friends, kind of close friends and confidants in film, tell me you know what I did with Timepiece and what I did with the trilogy and stuff like that. They were kind of it felt a little far away from you. Kind of felt a little far away from you. Oh, nice. There's your Gaddy.
Okay. I just wonder what Gaddy Dancers would they have to they couldn't hit the train, so they had to jump off.
They had to dance one.
I don't know. Yeah, it's just
it
makes more sense.
From Champagne.
Very nice.
Sorry, continue.
No. I was just trying to say that they told me whatever you did for this film, keep doing it, because we felt the heart in this film. Whatever you guys did for this film, this is where we really felt the heart back into it. So that was a big deal for me. I'm gonna kind of do some house keeping, if you will. We got a couple of big announcements, guys. By the time you hear this podcast, we will have already made the announcement on Facebook and stuff like that. But we are going to be expanding the Tower podcast network, and it's going to be called the TowerCast Network. We're going to be expanding with more shows. And the first show that you're going to be seeing coming from Tower Productions is called The Watchtower. Yours truly is going to be the host, and I'm going to have some help from Mr. Castro as well, which we'll talk about later. But we're going to be talking about films of all types and creeds and general film talking. And I'm
going to criticize the acting, and then tell me why they acted like that.
And we're gonna tackle my favorite film of all time, which you'll have to see on the first episode of The Watchtower what that film is. So just stay tuned to the more things that that TowerCast is going to be bringing. TowerCast is going to come back strong with season 2.
Oh yes,
stronger than ever. We're going to be interviewing lots of great filmmakers from the area and beyond. And they've already shown me kind of their strategy of what they want to do. It's going to be fantastic. Okay.
So you think you're wicked smart for not telling us what film's going to be on the
wicked
pilot?
Smart and apples and.
I see you get my car keys and go to the car.
We're gonna talk about that, and also we're gonna look out on our Facebook and Instagram, on our social media.
Hey.
Love it, Juan.
Love it.
We're gonna have brand new social media platforms for the TowerCast network, and you're going to be seeing a lot more podcast shows on that. So please make sure to subscribe.
And hopefully more films.
Also, just because this is our season ender, and if you've been listening this long, and if you made it this far, thank you so much for supporting the TowerCast. Thank you guys for continually coming on the TowerCast and making this the best towering podcast in El Paso. Like, this is a monumentous occasion for all of us. I think Tower's going great places. We're not done making films, but we're definitely going to keep you posted on until we get there. So.
No, yeah, a big thank you. And a big thank you to our listeners abroad. I know that we've been seeing our numbers, and we've been having listeners from people across the pond and beyond. So thank you guys, if you guys are listening out there, for making this podcast bigger than we ever thought it was going to be. Season 2 is coming with a bang. Watchtower is coming with a bang, and we got some more cool stuff.
Hell yeah. And Deb, stop calling me. Huh?
Stay tuned to Tower and our films as well. Like Castro said, we have very, very, very big and exciting projects coming to you soon, so that we'll be able to announce. So stay tuned.
Lead us out.
So don't forget, really quick, guys, we're available on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Anchor, all major podcast platforms. Be sure to leave us a 5-star review, thumbs up, whatever you got to do. We actually had one review come in. This guy says, these guys are growing on me. Sounds like a bunch of film enthusiasts. So keep on bringing those reviews in, guys. It helps us out. Let us know how we're doing.
We hate film.
And good morning, Erik. I don't know how much of the show you missed, but thank you for joining us.
Man.
Good morning.
You got the hairstylist, man. What's up, man?
Anything else, Mr. Juan? Anything else you got to say?
Juan, you want to take us out?
That's it. I'm grateful for the opportunity as always. This was a beautiful episode. We got to hear all these filmmakers pour their heart outs and lay down their hustle. So I hope all the filmmakers out there listening, or just the fans, whoever may be listening out there in the void of internets, you guys took something out of this. But that about does it for us towering filmmakers. As always, keep writing your scripts. Keep pushing through writer's blocks. And if you haven't heard it from anybody else besides your mama, then you'll hear it from us. We believe in you and all the hard work you've been bringing to your moving pictures. Don't forget to look at your call sheet. Don't you dare say it at Fix It and Post, or else Austin will throw a hat at you. That's the Baltimore filmmaking phrases right there. And remember to send over your love and appreciation towards your cast and crew for the hard work we know they're doing. Towering filmmakers, we'll see you guys on set.